So Tail Foundry did a video on SCP-1762, Where the Dragons Went. And I have been told again and again and again that this one has to be seen. So this is not going to be like the normal freaking SCP content we're going to be doing. This is going to be a more deep dive into the literary interest of SCPs, which I am also intrigued in.
Okay. Are we all ready? Tissue box on standby.
Oh god, that's not a good sign! Not a good sign! No, no, don't make me cry!
And the eye drops. Okay. Okay. We can do this. No tears this time, right? If all of this seems like a little much to you...
That seems much, that seems much. SCP's not gonna do it again.
Probably because you don't know what we're about to do here.
Yeah, my experience with SCPs are basically a reptile that doesn't die, a plague doctor, and an infinite IKEA. I'm slowly learning more and more, and I am not ready for this. Why are you premising like this? I thought SCPs were supposed to scare me, not scar me.
The story I want to share with you in this video is one I've been wanting to share for a long time now. I just wanted to be ready for it.
Uh-oh.
But I finally had to accept it. There is no way to be ready.
No!
This is more than a story. It's a confrontation with one of the hardest realities we dreamers have to face. If you're creative, if you've ever imagined anything, if you love fantasy...
I do. I love that stuff. I'm writing shit all the time.
Break your heart. And that's all there is to it. You've been warned.
Uh-oh.
So, if you think your heart can take it, let me share with you the tale of Where the Dragons Went.
Oh god, am I making a desperate mistake? Am I making a massive error? Okay. Alright.
A big thanks to everyone who made this video possible.
Alright.
Everyone who continues to watch, like, subscribe to these videos, and especially all of you who have decided to support the show on Patreon. Thank you so much.
Hells yeah. Subscribe to me and support me on Patreon too, because I too need food and bread and shit like that. Yes, of course, of course. Thank you, Tail Foundry, for the segue. Love you.
There is absolutely no way we could make something like this without all of your help.
Yeah.
We love you.
Yeah!
Our story is...
Yeah! Check out Tail Foundry, by the way. They do really good stuff, and I don't know if I'm ready for this.
...is a fantasy, but it doesn't start in a medieval village or an alien otherworld. It starts in a cold, bare, unloving observation chamber deep in the bowels of a high-security containment facility.
Oh, God.
A place owned and run by an organization known as the SCP Foundation. If you haven't heard of them, that's about par for the course. They like it that way.
Oh,
They're
God.
a covert operation dedicated to...
You got your regular SCP. Well, this is just gonna be like the reptile that doesn't die, right? This is just gonna be wholesome. I am not gonna get hoodwinked by your intro and your scared voice, okay?
Protecting the world from the unknowable and the anomalous. Their usual charges are apocalyptic monsters, mimetic viruses, reality-warping artifacts, and other such nuisances.
Sure.
But one of the most fabulous of them all is, or was, a cardboard box.
What?
You may not have thought much of it if you'd come across it on your own. Little bigger than a shoebox, spray-painted silver, the words "Here be dragons" written in permanent marker on the lid.
Dude, I'm just saying. Overhyped. It's not gonna scare me. Yes, I'm just hyping myself up right now. Let me have this. Let me do this to myself. It's just a box. It's just a box. No emotional damage incoming.
Otherwise entirely empty and unremarkable in every way, it would have looked to you like a children's arts and crafts project and nothing more. Imagine your surprise then when all by itself, the box came open and out billowed clouds of black smoke and flocks of tiny flying origami dragons.
Okay, alright, not scary.
This is why the
Supernatural, perhaps. Scary, no. We're good. We're fine. We are so fine.
Foundation had to keep the box under lock and key. There was something inside it that they didn't understand. Although the box was always empty, the paper dragons and the smoke seemed to materialize from the opening as if from somewhere else.
Dude, it's such a good way to introduce a concept, though. Like, it just... The writer in me is so excited. That is really great introductory work for a concept. Like, the mystery is strong in this one.
And the dragons themselves were no children's craft project either. They were alive, animate, aware of their surroundings.
Okay.
They would flutter about and play happily with each other or anyone else in the room until it was time again to vanish back into the empty box.
See, no tears. It's wholesome. Cute little dragon box. Who could hate that?
This went on for some time, the scientists and containment specialists watching the dragons come and go, wondering why. Until one day, the dragons brought an answer. Or rather, a question. It came in the form of a letter found resting atop the box, which read, "You have found us. Thank you. It has been..."
What? What does that mean, huh? Wait, what?
So long since we last saw each other, friends. The peace has been upheld.
Okay.
The giants and behemoths have kept their word and have not caused any trouble since you last came and gave the order.
What?
We missed your company. How has your family been? Do you still know how to work your room? You are welcome to visit anytime. The Foundation provides no...
I have no idea what any of that is supposed to mean. It was wholesome, and it was cute, and it wasn't scary, and I've been hoodwinked and bamboozled, and this isn't gonna traumatize me.
No explanation of the possible implications of this message, but I think it's pretty clear what we're dealing with here. A portal fantasy.
Yeah!
Like the ones in The
Wholesome.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, some kids, through their imagination and creativity, either created or found their way into a fantasy otherworld.
Okay.
And now, for whatever reason, they've gone away, and the denizens of the box await their return.
Oh.
The Foundation continued to observe.
Oh, so the box is a fantasy world. It's not like it's a portal to another world. It is a fantasy world.
Later the same year, another letter arrived from within the box. This time it said, "It's strange to see how much your world has changed.
What?
It is even stranger to see how we now appear in this place.
What?
In fantasy, we are much bigger. Or maybe you've grown taller? Fantasy is still the same. We hope you can visit us like you used to. Though our room is as grand as ever, it appears yours has shrunken.
Oh God, where is this going? I'm like a little spooked. I'm a little on edge. I don't know. It's giving me weird vibes. Why has their room shrunken? Why? What made their room shrink? Like, I know I should just watch it, but I feel like it'll brace the impact if I kind of guess what's going on a little bit.
Do not understand. The rooms were supposed to be maintained, as was our agreement. Please, restore the belief.
The dragons died because we stopped believing in them. That's gonna be the twist.
This
Oh God.
is where the tragedy begins.
Okay.
Brace yourselves. It seems the dragons were starting to understand that things had changed, though it was difficult for them to grasp how. The children's bedroom, which had been the conduit from one world to another, had now been replaced with this sad little containment chamber, and without the belief of the children who'd found them, they could only manifest in our world as shadows of their true selves, these little paper things. But their hope wasn't yet gone. They were sure that their creators would never abandon them, and only requested that things be set right again. Later, the following year, after a long and fruitless wait, the dragons came with yet another letter.
Bro, and these dragons, their whole world is collapsing because people aren't believing. They are literally victims in this tragic scenario. They are victims to the lack of belief that these random people have.
This time, instead of the brilliant, fluttering flock 100 strong, a mere 20 emerged from the box. They would not fly, instead walking lethargically about on their feet.
They are
letters
slowly but surely dying. Oh no, man, I was not ready for this! He gave me such a whole introduction, and I was like, where the dragons went? I don't know, there was a meteor, they fucking died. Alright, dragons went, goodbye.
Said the following.
Visago, thanks for the prime.
Friends, we apologize for our few numbers. We have had to remain
They're still so wholesome because they're still fantasy creatures.
Fantasy for quite some time. The others are growing impatient. We are trying to keep the peace, but please, for all of our happiness, repair the room quickly. We know you are trying. Your family is the most imaginative of us all. It seems that without their creator's belief, things weren't going so well in the world of the box. But, not knowing who its owner was, there was little the Foundation could do except watch and wait.
Why? They could put it in a place where there is someone dreaming. It doesn't need to be the same owner. It could have been somebody else. The Foundation didn't need to just literally sit there and watch these wonderful, fantastic creatures just die out.
Sometime after that, the Foundation won't say how long, another letter arrived. This time, it came with just 10 dragons. And they weren't alone. The box expelled 3 balls of yellow, crumpled construction paper, which shook violently on the ground for several seconds before ceasing all motion. The dragons scooped them up and returned them to the box. The letter read simply, "The giants were foolish. Your room was not ready to accept them yet. We're sorry, friends. We hope that we can still see you.
Wait,
but
the crumpled papers were the giants and they couldn't be manifested because there wasn't enough imagination for them?
Is growing short for our happiness." The dragons, apparently the ones closest to the children whose imagination made this portal between the worlds possible, were barely able to materialize as paper dolls in a world that doesn't believe in them. The giants never stood a chance. After that, carried by just 5 dragons this time, another letter.
Dude.
Tensions are rising. Fantasy is becoming darker. We, the serpents and the hybrids, are—
Dude, this is insane! SCP— I didn't think SCP would get this dark. I thought it was just like different creatures, not like— This is tragic.
Furiously trying to hold them back. But the giants and the elves wish to strike and make an entrance. They say that your family has grown stupid and ignorant. We hope this is untrue. It would sadden us all greatly to know that you have forgotten. As the reality of their abandonment set in, it seems as though the creatures of fantasy were becoming desperate. My guess is that it escalated into a conflict not between the races of their world, but between their beliefs. That they must either grasp hold of reality themselves if they want to be a part of it, or trust their fate to the hands of absent creators. Eventually, a single red dragon pulled itself out of the box. Wings torn, noticeably crumpled, it collapsed to the floor and did not move again.
Dude, why would they do this? This is like the death throes, death throes, just crushing me.
Went out of it, its body unfolded into a sheet of paper, bearing a message only 3 words long. War. Goodbye, friends.
Oh, Lord.
Over the next 6 weeks, the box became a miniature apocalypse. Columns of flame burst from within over and over, hot enough to melt steel, taller than a man. Distant roars sounded from deep inside. It spewed out shreds of torn paper, crumpled paper balls, and the lifeless bodies of the paper dragons. There were a great many of them at first, but fewer and fewer as the weeks went on.
They just died.
For a while,
they all just killed each other. They were in a world of famine and a world of destruction and war. And these SCP motherfuckers are just sitting there watching this happen because no fantasy is going in, and therefore they couldn't survive, and their ideologies clashed and wiped each other out.
At the end, instead of paper scraps, the box began to release what looked like scraps of flesh and muscle tissue.
Oh, God!
And then, for 7 long months, nothing. The box lay dormant. When a message finally did arrive, for the first time since the box had come into the Foundation's possession, it came without a messenger. They found it lying inside the box, words blurred and stained with blood on the parchment. It read, "Are you still out there, friends? We miss you dearly. Fantasy is no longer safe. Our haven, your beautiful creation, is gone. The giants are dead.
Oh God, dude.
The centaurs are dead. The birds have fled.
Oh my lord.
We are going to bury your room. We cannot risk hurting you. This is our goodbye. Maybe one day, your family can build another room. This may be a hollow hope, but we will cherish this thought."
Bro! Oh my God, dude. And you abandon your dreams and your dreams eventually die. Like, this story hurts because it's almost like everyone has dreams that they abandon, and those dreams die when you abandon them. I know obviously they're not sentient beings, but in some way that is a part of you that's dying, because your fantasy and your dreams and your imagination, that is all a very real part of you despite not having any impact on this real world. So when you grow up and you give up on your dreams and your dreams die, there is a part of you that is dying as well.
After the researchers read the message, the box began to deteriorate. The dragons seemed to be holding on to an ember of hope, but it didn't stop the smoke from rising out of the box one final time, or the box from sagging and at last collapsing. It didn't stop the cardboard from charring through, crumbling away in small, black-edged holes.
Dude.
It didn't stop the words, "Here be dragons," from burning away forever. The dragons couldn't hold on to hope forever. After one more period of waiting, holding on to that last ember, the dragons let go. The Foundation received one final message from the box, a papyrus scroll. Most of it was covered in a painting of a mountainous landscape filled with large trees.
Oh my god, that's what it used to look like. And now it's gone. Dude, this is like... Oh god, this story actually hits on so many, like, random themes. Like, this is a wild story. It's like an allegory for all sorts of fights and religions and higher powers. Whether you can trust them or whether you're abandoned by them.
And waterfalls. In the distance, there was what appeared to be a single dragon flying toward the horizon. In the bottom right corner, written in black ink, were their parting words. "Master says that we won't see you again. We are sad. So are the remaining others. We once filled each other's heads with dreams and goals."
Bro, dude, I can't do this. I can't do this, man. Oh, Lord. I can't do this. No, I'm not crying. You're crying.
"It is so sad that we cannot share them any longer. Master says we have to go. He says that he will make us a new fantasy.
Damn.
He says you cannot be a part of it. We are sad. We love you. We will not forget you."
Dude, no.
"We are scared. Will you forget us?"
Dude, no, I did not need this. This is horrible. What is this stream? It's just trauma in a box.
Scroll was removed from the box. Salt water began to leak from the charred remains. It seemed to wash away the burns, to cleanse all the scars of war. Within 3 minutes, the entire thing had been restored to its original state. No bigger than a shoebox, spray-painted silver, text written in Sharpie on the lid. Only now the words, "Here be dragons," had been replaced with the words, "Here were dragons."
Dude, one word and it's just... It blasts you. It leaves a hole in your chest. Oh my god. It's a hole in my chest, literally gaping wider than my asshole after collabing with Fifi. I mean, when I...
Now you probably understand the tissue box. I'd let you borrow it if I could, but it's a really painful story in a really unexpected way.
Yeah.
We're sad about the dragons, yes. We're sad about the world inside the box. But I think the reason this story hurts so much goes deeper than that. I think it touches something innate to all of us.
Yeah.
Forces us to confront one of the harshest of all realities. That every fantasy, no matter how precious, how intimate, will die in the end.
Yeah.
And it's true.
No matter what your dream is, no matter what your fantasy is, at some point it'll die. And you can't even blame yourself. It's not even your fault, but it will die. And that part of you will be forgotten forever.
For more than just the fantasies of our novels and fairy tales. The fantasy of youth. The fantasy of a permanent self. The fantasy of life. All of them have to pass. I'm reminded of a passage from a poem by William Wordsworth.
Okay.
Ode, Intimations of Immortality. The opening lines have haunted me since I first read them. There was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth and every common sight, to me did seem apparelled in celestial light, the glory and the
that dude never got canceled on Twitter.
Freshness of a dream. It is not now as it hath been of yore. Turn wheresoe'er I may, by night or day, the things which I have seen, I now can see no more.
Damn.
The promise of the phrase, "Here be dragons," is one of mystery. It tells us that there is a world unknown. This empty part of the map could be home to the creatures of our imagination. Who can be sure? The cruelty of the phrase "here were dragons" is that it doesn't
Dude, it is so cruel!
even negate that promise. It tells us that it was fulfilled and that it never will be again.
Yeah, I didn't even look at it from that perspective. I just looked at it as like, oh, well, here were dragons because you didn't keep it up. But no, here were dragons because every fantasy will eventually die. This box going from here are dragons to here were dragons is your childhood. And you will have that moment of your childhood where you have these fantasies, where you feel immortal. And at some point, that will die. And you will grow up, which is a great thing. Everyone needs to grow up. But that part of youth that made you sparkle and made you hopeful and made you not see the world for the ass crack that it is, makes you start to feel. Here were dragons. This was a bright-eyed kid that thought the world wasn't in a downward spiral into oblivion.
The terrain is mapped. It is known. And definitively, where once there were fabulous beasts and things out of our dreams, we know now that the magic has passed. As a creative, my instinct is to fight this idea. I have always loved to believe that dreams outlive the dreamer, that thoughts exist independent of the thinker. I still do believe that in some ways, but fantasies are unique to the ones experiencing them. It's what makes them
I'm almost looking at this not as the fantasy as it exists in a vacuum. I'm almost looking at this as every single human being has their own fantasies and dreams that will eventually die. Your mind will eventually go from there be dragons to there were dragons. And I think that happens to every single person.
Precious. Give 1,000 people the same book to read, and every one of them will see something different in their mind's eye. Sit 1,000 people down to watch a film, and they'll all have different interpretations and—
No, not this one specifically. I don't think anyone likes The Last Jedi. Hold on. No, this is one of the most unanimously hated movies in history. I feel like you could have picked something better.
Reactions. Give 1,000 writers the same prompt, and you'll receive 1,000 different stories. Without all of those individual readers, moviegoers, writers, the versions of the fantasy unique to them vanish. And it will happen to each in their time. Either circumstance or mortality will eventually change the person, and so the fantasy must change as well.
I like that. That's a nice take. That's just a very wholesome take, right? Since everyone's perspective is different, everyone's fantasy that they put into the world somehow does change what fantasy is. That's beautiful.
Dragons become so many origami dolls. We're all a bit like Peter Pan, trapped forever between the world of our fantasies and the harsh outside reality. Or in the case of Peter, the world of childhood and the impending world of adulthood.
Yeah.
His magic, his motivations, his entire story all revolve around the knowledge of what's coming, maybe even what has already begun for him. He tries to animate nostalgia into this immortal living fantasy, but the tragedy of nostalgia is that the feeling itself is
nostalgia is inherently in the past.
An admission of things lost. By dreaming backward, we accept that the fantasy has already died. Our relationship with it will never be the same again. And so it goes with every fantasy we create, every fantasy we experience. Even if we could stay forever, to do that would be to die ourselves. So, we always have to return from it, and in some form or another, in order for us to live, the fantasy must die.
It's so sad, but it's so true. Because without the fantasy dying, you're never growing. And I think that fantasy dying is emblematic of growth. And all of us growing means that those fantasy will die. You will never look at the Pokemon anime with the same love and reverence that you did one day, perhaps. But that doesn't mean that it's gone. It just means you used it to push you to a future level. So the There Were Dragons is tragic from the perspective of the dragons. But from your perspective, you're growing now. You're evolving. There were dragons that pushed you to become the person that you are right now, even though, yes, those dragons are not here. It's almost triumphant in a way. This story is heart-wrenching because of how real it is of leaving your past behind and missing that era, that time of nostalgia where the life was so beautiful, but it ending is what makes it powerful.
The things which I have seen, I now can see no more. It's a sad truth, but I didn't just bring you here to make you sad. I brought you here because I think there's something to learn. As storytellers, the knowledge that our fantasies will one day die makes them precious in a way that something eternal could never be.
That's what I just said! Yes! Preach, little alien robot foundry man! Yes! That is exactly what I said. You are the culminations of the fantasies that you've killed. There were dragons is triumphant that there were dragons. Because if there'd always be dragons, then there's nothing special about the dragon.
Just the way the disappearance of the world inside the box awakens us to how precious these tiny paper dragons truly are, knowing the limitations of our own dreams makes the brief window during which we get to live them so much more poignant.
Yeah.
It reminds us to breathe every fantasy deeply while we can. And when the time for dreaming is done, to give them a fond and loving farewell.
Someone in chat just said dinosaurs would be 30% less cool if they were still around. What a weird take. Dinosaurs aren't fantasy. What? That's the wildest take I've ever... Yeah. Dinosaurs would suck if they were around. Oh my god. It would... Dude, I love you guys. What the hell? You guys are awesome. I love my job, honestly. Hanging out with you people is so fun.
At the very least, we don't need to leave them wondering whether we'll come back. In a way, I think this is what we're doing when we share our fantasies with others. The passing of the tale is like a goodbye. You've experienced it. You know it well enough to tell it.
Yeah.
To you, it's become old, one step nearer the grave. But to the ones you share it with, it's new. Not the same fantasy, but one fresh to their dreaming minds.
That's cute.
The fantasy lives on, reincarnate. As if to acknowledge this, the story of Where the Dragons Went ends with one final addendum. After almost 8 years of inactivity, the box stirred. Purple smoke began to rise from it, and as it opened, it fell to the floor, spilling out a large chunk of amethyst and a leather-bound book.
What?
The box disintegrated.
It took 8 years for this. What? What? That is awesome. That is so awesome.
Soon after, taking every trace of the world that had been with it. Every trace except for the book. Inside, you find the fantasy again, but in a different way. It turns out someone had traveled the world of fantasy while it was alive and cataloged its many species and environments. The book is called Beasts of the Old Letters, and through it, the fantasy comes alive in our own minds. It becomes our portal, even
cute.
Without the magic of the box.
That is such a cute ending. That is such a cute freaking ending. Dude, I don't give SCP nearly enough credit. I just thought it was like scary and shit, but this is nuts. This is awesome.
The amethyst was inscribed with the words, "One last time." Sometimes, that's all a fantasy needs. Be good to yours. Share them. I say that like it's an easy thing to do. Really, as artists, I think we tend to undersell how difficult it is to take care of our ideas. Translating
so true, bro. Honestly, I feel like that's so real. Dude, I love fantasy so much.
Nebulous stuff of your dreams into something concrete is a task in and of itself, never mind making it digestible for others. No matter how good your idea, how passionate you are about bringing it to life, something as simple as organization can doom it to a fate, much like these poor little dragons. But it doesn't have to be that way. There are tools that can save you and your ideas the heartbreak. And one of our absolute favorites is World Anvil. If you're not familiar,
Dude, that was hilarious.
Anvil is a browser-based world-building platform designed for writers, novelists, tabletop game masters, game developers, anyone who has a world in their head that needs building.
Yeah, that's
With
awesome.
tools for linking together your content like a wiki, creating interactive maps, timelines,
this is
and
similar to Campfire, right?
family trees, and options for choosing who to share it all with, World Anvil will keep your creations safe, well-organized, and easy to share with anyone you want.
That's wholesome.
And that's only the world-building side of it. The platform also has built-in novel writing software to write, plan, plot, and shockingly, even publish your stories.
Oh my god, that's insane!
Publish for money. The real deal. Go to worldanvil.com/tailfoundry
Nice.
to sign up for free. And if you want to join the guild there, which will unlock a veritable arsenal of amazing features like comprehensive privacy settings, presentation options, and
This is
so
the best ad read I've ever seen.
much more, you can use the code TAILFOUNDRY to save up to 30% on an annual membership. Not just 30% 1 month, 30% off your entire year. Again, that's worldanvil.com/tailfoundry, and the code, of course, is TailFoundry.
Subscribe to me and like
A
my stuff,
huge
too.
thanks to our friends at World Anvil for sponsoring this video and just giving us an opportunity to share a tool we already love with all of you.
Hell yeah.
Go light up the forge. And that's it for this video. There's usually a few weeks between uploads, so if you want more TailFoundry in the meantime, come join our community.
Yeah.
We have a
Dude, great video. Honestly, great SCP. Holy crap, SCP-1762, Where the Dragons Went. Not only was this an incredibly good SCP, but holy crap, what a great video. TailFoundry, goddamn, you killed it on this one. My lord. Like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch. Stay weird, fam.